If it looks like there's a bit of
Hi, you're Liv. I'm legit. It's lovely to be feeling good, right? And that just might not be your day today. I applaud you for being true to yourself. And you can still agree with my statement in empathy without feeling the need to be there. It takes away from the good. Because I want you here. I want you here. I'm so full of love right now. I had the best, most loving day yesterday. Because I saw my nephews and my grandpa pretty much for the first time since the social restrictions of the demic kind of were put in place. And to love is to touch. When I walked out onto the patio of my brother's home and my nephews saw me, my brother didn't tell them I was coming. And that like pause and oh, my little buddy like sprung up. He was eating ice cream cake, and that just didn't even like it's not a thing. Sprung up and just like ran over to me with open arms. Sees 3. Oh, and I scooped him up, and it's a wonderful and unique age. Being 3, I think. 4, there's almost like it's not like babies love always, and they're always expressing it. But there's like almost like an intentionality, like for the first time, they know sometimes when they are showing their love because they love. You know, it's like they love and they don't even know it. It's like, I love and I know it. And that hug. You know, it's like sometimes the kids like they'll run over to because they're like, it's Uncle Ellie. Like I'll get a spin, I'll get a play, or something. You know, it's like that's what you do. Like when you get there, your uncle say hi to your uncle. Which it's never been. I'm not that uncle. I'm more like come here. They're like ah. Oh gosh. He sprung up. There was no thought. We were in the same place. It was just like touch, like oh. I know that because of my own self-awareness, my own stubborn lovingness, my luck and love, and then my like the depth of my I don't say definition or like attribution characteristic of expressions of love and things like that because I'm I'm a breaker downer. It is, in some ways, my life has been a vacuum of love, and in others, I've been the luckiest. And in that contextual environment, I would still say that I've in this life I've been super lucky in love, which is not lucky. When you love a lot, like it's gotta find you, and still, it is a rare thing, which is why it's like why we're changing the world because it's like it's a free thing, and we all want it, and we all give it, and it's like infinitely diverse. Why isn't it more like everywhere? Because it can't be controlled. That's part of it. Ah, that like thoughtless, reckless abandon of the child, of the children. Because both me and him was like, oh, I miss him so much, and his brother, and oh man, they're getting older, and like I love them. They're so cool. I'm so impressed by them. Uh, but what I'm my point that it's important to just highlight and have like compassion and understanding for most people on this planet have never, ever, 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 ever felt anything like that love in a moment, ever. And because of the reasons why that's been kept at past arm's length, literally, is our languaging and the way that we frame it. Because I can use all the words I just used, despite my climbing to uh, define and different, like define by virtue of differentiation and description. That some people you can one can still hear that and be like, I've felt a lot of love before. I felt the most love. I've been the most love ever because our language and our culture is void of delineations of self-expression as distinct from other people. Our language and our identity is a mass production. I love you. I love you. One can know that one and one can know that they simultaneously mean the same thing, but it's not the words. Whereas in my experience as a lover, I know that I love you and I love you has meant different things, and not like a lesser more things, but what is love? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, no more. And then in speaking with my grandfather, who's oh, the best, I'm loving getting to know him and hanging out with him. We're kind of discussing in terms like what makes a person a good person or a bad person, or how do we what like how do we end up thinking that bad people like we're just like bear with me, bad people are, we think they're good people but they're really bad people. So what is good, what is bad? And so my man Jesus said something like, Ask and you shall receive. Little known fact. That exact excerpt from the Bible, transcribed through time, was edited, and it's missing the other half of what he actually said. And what he said explains, because it's manifestation, right? Explains what he means. And again, paraphrase loosely. I encourage you to look this up, or you can just be like, Elliot, you're lying. This doesn't make sense. That I don't think that's true, but what you're saying makes true, so that's all that matters. It's cool. I love it when you make up your own mind. Is something along the lines of like, and then I'm not going to make it sound poetic like Jesus, but ask and you shall receive, F, and then like go unto the world like the Father delivereth, which is basically like the more or less like the memes of the now. Oh, oh shit! Like act like you already have it. Incomplete, mostly because of what we can confuse that as meaning. Asking and so you shall receive. I'm gonna break it down because I'm a breaker downer. Yeah, you can't receive anything that you don't know you. If you don't know what it looks like, then how do you know it's there when you find it? I want love, but what is love? And for many people, it's like constructions of and conceptions of relationships and the family and an imagined way of feeling in those circumstances. I'm not going to criticize those, but I'm just using it as an example. And then like for like the most mundane, like you don't look at cars the same way when in the time spent right before you buy your first one, your next one, the one you're kind of looking for. All of a sudden, cars on the road take on a new presence. Maybe a brand, a style, or parts of things that you like start to stand out that you've always liked, but you didn't know you liked them. Ask and you shall receive, because the world is out there. You only need to grasp the parts of it that you feel like are missing. And missing can be and like creativity, right? Like if you're a one that creates fine art or sculpture or technology, it's actually, let's leave technology out. I'm talking more about, let's stick with like the idea of like arts and crafts, because of their assumption of they're lacking in utility. You don't do anything with them, but it's there's something missing, and that art is the filling of that. Then ask. Your talent, the materials, your ideas become that which you asked for through your need. If I went mundane, that's something like them would be of the more subtle yet everyday relatable example. Notice that so far I haven't mentioned ask and you shall receive. You want that raise? Go out and get it. You want some blah 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 for Christmas? Ask for it from Santa. You want you want you want someone to love you, and you ask them to love you. You want this job, you want this thing. Anytime you throw down, anytime you splash the cash, you're asking. Right? Because that isn't receiving, that is getting. I could also say taking, but I feel like getting has rounder features that with less connotations of, I don't know, ill nature. I want to stay neutral for the sake of our textual hypothesis. In the linearity of our psychosocial conditioning, ask and you shall receive, without explicitly saying it, but by virtue of our habitual use of ways of communicating, basically. Like we don't say what we really mean. There's an assumption that ask and you shall receive, so that's how you receive. You ask, but ask and you shall receive. Where's there giving in there? So the unspoken to conditioned, like non-said conditioning assumption is that if somebody wants something, they'll ask. And how often have you maybe heard that in your life, in media? Just, it's like, if they wanted, they'd ask. Because that's the thing about our language and like, trickery, neutral, is, yeah, if you want something, ask. Is also solid advice for some things. But like, as words in a row. But in the terms of what we're talking about, which is, I would say, the manifestation of your soul's agenda, not my words, I borrowed them, they're good. Your life mission, your reason, raison d'être, raison d'être, raison d'être, raison d'être, raison d'être. And that's because ask and you shall receive is not subject to form. We never truly want the form of a thing. We want what it means. which can encompass and so like psychologically create like exclusive emphasis, may or may not, right? Of like the feeling of it, or the kind of identity altering aspect of it, what it makes me to have when we put things in form as an aspect of our dreams or our desires. And so in that's part of like it's part of like it's part of like it's like, why don't we have the things that we want even when we are connected to the kind of more subtle and broader realms of our own understanding and truth. Because when we are, and this is a little familiar with the memes. Uh, if you're asking for something and it's there, but also you're asking for something, you're asking for it in terms that you think is it, but isn't. The universe is like, well, you gotta ask for it. Like you're basically asking for nothing, right? So all you're gonna keep bumping into is the conflict. As an example, I'll use a personal, like a hyper personal example that I think is highly relatable. Uh, I want, oh, really personal. I don't want to be a burden on anyone. I don't have the same unconscious drive to be the provider. For me, it's never been so much a competition, but it was more of like, oh, I don't want to be a drag. I don't want to put a drag on anyone. And then there's also always in my as a part of my being, and then the most opposite is like I want to be the gift. Like I want to bring things to the table. I want to here, and we don't need to go into all the personal unwounding. See what I did there? That's my drink. Oh, it's on the balcony. Oh, I still. Yes. And then when I have these things, then I can make the move, and I can do. Then there's nothing stopping me from being the lover, the husband, the partner that I want to be. Then I can be the relationship that I want to be. Right? When I can bring these things to the table, and not so many terms one way or another, in different ways in different relationships. Not in a relationship now. It's not, but very much right. Like in different ways, those things. It's like I want to, like I feel sometimes it's like I got like I hear I hear like again media mostly, and the media through us. It's like women are like just focus on you, girl. Just gonna focus on me. Whereas men are more like what I said. Just like I'm just gonna focus on work. It doesn't say that. That's why I didn't use that example. I'm using that example just so you know, because like it's not even exceptions. It's like men and women both feel these things, but we're talking about conditions and uh, and things that don't line up. And because since I'm sharing quite personally, uh, the the last biggest healing that I like, the healing of that kind of wounding that I was the most wow, and like was realizing that I wasn't loving myself as much as I love myself. Like I wasn't believing and acting in that belief of my love of self. Uh, and love of self can sound kind of um, self-helpy. I mean it, and this is how it can mean. It's like when you know the way that you feel when you like the way that I love my nephew and the way that I love my grandpa, right? But it's like especially my little nephew because he's young and we don't have the same history either, right? Uh, Also, like there's and even though he's 3 and I'm uh, 35 in a few days, uh, I still feel it's like we're on the same page. We're the same age. Whereas I like look up to my grandpa. Uh, it's like I it's like I would be in love with me if I wasn't me, and then having the next thought of being like, whoa, you like feel like all you need to do is feel for a moment like, no, I'm totally in love with me. I'm awesome and like and loving me for it, like giving myself all the love for all the reasons that I thought that I wasn't feeling and receiving, because we, love was meaning different things to us and people at different times, and communicating needs can be confusing and scary. So I mentioned that uh, to give depth to the validity of, let's say, like platforms or ledges of love stability that are like kind of prerequisite to manifestation, as opposed to an interfering obstacle, like destructive interference. That is the phase variant expression of your manifest in a shared reality. So yeah, you want to be in love with someone, and that is in love with you. You you got to feel that for you. That's got to be somewhere. It's in some. It can't. And like if it's not in you and it's in them, then that's going to cause conflict. So more recently, because of the triumph of coming through my own personal uh, healings and transitionary challenges, materially, I feel I've never been so contrary in my material manifestation of my life and my capacity to materially do things in like the conventional terms, buy things. I'm not like I'm like I got a job when I was as soon as I was old enough to get a SIM card. Right? I've worked my whole life, uh, And even when I wasn't working, I was hustling. And then, with the contrary, the converse of that is, I've never felt more capable to exact my desires and to put into action things that I know. To pursue love. And without getting too specific so I don't lose the train of thought, love is a flow state. And my imagination of love is inclusive of my creative expressions as technology, as community and social reform and adventure and travel and things like that. In no way separate from another person, but in no less separate from another person. And then recently, I don't know, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, at some point in my like continuous inner journey, healing, finding more shit that I'm like inner conflict, basically. Good for you, Elliot, for not being more self defeating. And you're describing. I kind of like posed that a thought experiment. I do that a lot. All thought is an experiment, really. Well, I mean, that's the safest. This isn't it. This is real. This is real, Ryan. It's like, fuck, thoughts, dangerous. Whatever. I thought, okay, let's go linear. Like all that stuff, and I check all those boxes, and then, I get the dream relationship. What happens after the dream relationship if I lose all those boxes? Because my line of thinking was, what do I have control over, really? What can I choose indefinitely, and it can perpetually manifest its truth, like almost like regardless of external influences. And obviously, none of the stuff that I could ever do or bring or have, all that stuff is not real. It's not under my it's not under my control. So while it can be a necessary like act of like creation, it's like once like you cause something, like the effect, it's like all right, like you can't depend on those effects, really. Well, the only effects that you can depend on are the effects of creations that are in your life, continuous, constant, like tying in love. Because that's the one. I'm still doing the thought experiment with you. That was like the loss way of looking at it, and then I would say like the abundance viewpoint was what's of all of that, what it's almost like what would last, no matter what. It's not so much okay like what the external, what's not, as opposed to what's not. under your control, it's like, what is under your control? What is the choice that you can always make? Or we're always only we make the choice and then we live it forever. That's what choicing. That's what choicing is. Your soul is pretty determined. So another way of looking at the only thing that matters is loving. And it's beyond thick and thin. It's 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 always invincible. It can always be the best. Is the way humans, people, partners, it's the way we can love each other can always be the best. It's how we can meet any circumstances. And our love is the best. So ask and you shall receive. I want the best love, but not just for myself. I want the best love for myself and everyone on the planet, everyone in the universe, everyone in all the universes. I want the best love. I want every fucking thing and non-thing that, uh, yes, like you, God, can conceive of, right? Like, how else do I include everything, right? Has in its own eternity, infinity of isness and choicing, the opportunity to achieve that reasonably as well. That it is never like divinely blocked off for any reason, not a punishment, not a consequence. That everything and everyone can have the best love. That's what I want. I don't need to feel that. I don't need to see it all at the same time. I just want the best love. But in feeling that and living that and knowing that, I can know that as my if it's manifesting, the power of my manifestation, then everybody's got it too. One day, one life, eventually. And I don't know everything. I don't know. Maybe some like life form being entities will go into its own infinity with never feeling love because that would be exceptional as well. It's like, wow, what kind of experience would that be? You have to tell me about it because I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm too much of a lover of love. I'm lover's bitch. Yep, yep. No shame, shameless, unapologetic. But in my asking, you shall receive. I, even in my best attempts, put them these like parameters of what that would look like, and that's I want to try and bring it back out to the general, like you and people you know. Imagine we have this like seed of an inner knowing of what the best love is, but then that's all we know of it, and what we think it is, it isn't. But it's not so simple that the universe can deliver what isn't because you got part of it right. The best love is out there. It is in there. So instead, there's this conflict, and that's been my life, and that's to go back to kind of the title, all the like dating and like asking out for this and asking for this, even the act of asking for someone's hand in marriage, it's who says no? Like you're as a like it's almost like a socially nerve-wracking thing. Oh my god, I'm doing it. But at that point, like you're like, except for all those times that like, but it's not truly an ask, and it's lost its formless nature. Like in order to get married, you have to ask someone to marry you. So as we turn down and move towards the conclusion of this talk, love is generosity. And speaking with my grandpa, like a definition I'd say of goodness, and the difference between goodness and badness, it's such a weird phrase, is like on my way out, my grandpa was like, I don't know, what else can I give you? And not to get in really like just motivated to help me and to help me with also, but because like you can just, it doesn't sometimes it doesn't help to just give people any stuff, and maybe like yourself, it's kind of weird to think otherwise, but like, how can I be good to others? How can I be good to someone in a situation? Uh, how can I do more than what's been asked of me? How can I do what hasn't been asked of me? That's what generosity is. Because I'm not gonna ask my grandpa for anything, except in the ways that he's teaching me how to ask for things as an adult, an empowered adult. Well, I'm becoming an adult. 35. It makes sense to me. I'm like, we have a misconception of time because we've been forced to die so early. It's like we're fucking toddlers, but but we're dying early. So like, just like call the children adults. I'm a believer. If you wait for anyone and anything to ask before you give something, that's not giving. Giving is, I would say, almost by definition, one must go out of their way to create like a current, a flow of energy, of intention, of manifestation, right? That they believe in. They're giving. Giving in that way and in the way of giving requires thought. It requires feeling. It requires consciousness. Ask, only give when you're asked. That's a transaction. The only real decision being made is yes or no, and that's when that can be the only part of the like determinant of the transaction. Uh, like there's uh, it's power. It's power uh, without love. Right? It's like the matter without the spirit, and love is spirit and matter. It can't be one or the other. When you get something that you ask for, I would say that you really want, the well, when you get it, it's like a relief. When you receive something that like you want, but you didn't know you wanted, or didn't ask for in form, but was given to you, because that's the way love works. There's, depending on what it is, there can be an appropriate like bar of relief, but overwhelmingly you feel love. Because what do you didn't have to. You didn't have to. You didn't have to, and I didn't ask for it. Because in the formless, the things that we want, that we're asking for, we can't not be giving. Like it's just, it is the way it is. You want a good feeling. You're going to cultivate a good feeling through, in like your own identifying terms, good actions. And like deserves like, you know? And when we're not carrying around with us the burdens of our fears, then we're not acting them out while expressing our wants. It's not that people won't give to those that are impoverished, or like it's like, oh, they're being needy, or there's a there is a sense of conveyance or contagiousness that is the feeling of scarcity, and that if you feel like something that there's two people, and there's no asking, there's no anything, but one feels like it's a really scarce thing and that's why they don't have it, like, oh, woe is me, why don't I love, or a job, or blah blah blah. I don't know, I fuck scratch the example, make it real. And then but whatever the other person has, it's like, and like they're like, maybe they'll hold it a little tighter, not because they won't give it, but it's not a thought to give things. It's like a part of the being. It's like, ooh, it's the feeling that gets created, and we protect the things that we love. And all of this can be really unconsciously driven. Ask and you shall receive. I think enough has been said about that in general, and in our not just like so. While the way we've spoken about it in this conversation is, I don't know, salient and useful. I learned something by breaking it down. I wanted to build a complexity in that part of the frame because giving is really simple. You go out of your way to give what makes you feel good. I like cheeseburgers, so I'm gonna go give people cheeseburgers. Well, no. I know, obviously, no. But it's because it's not. I like cheeseburgers, so I'm gonna make some cheeseburgers and invite my neighbors over, and we gonna have a barbecue. Yes. Give what makes you feel good. It's selfish, right? And it feels good when you know you didn't have to. If you don't have to go out of your way to do it, then in a way, it's almost like it wasn't your idea, you're being forced to. Somebody asked you. But there's a difference, and I'll close with this. Move towards closing with this. There's a difference between I just got distracted, sorry. Going out of your way and it being an act being effortless. Loving generosity is giving and going out of your way. Scratch that, going out of the way. You have to go out of the way, but it's not out of your way. It is your way. But the stream of least resistance, which we all flow into as a good thing, love is the path of least resistance. But more love incorporates that which resists at the end, at the edges. What's hard to love, but we want to love because we love. So when we go out of the way, it can be strenuous, it can be dangerous, it can be demanding, but on our heartstrings, in our belly, our soul, our sense of relief, and also, I want to say, like, etheric deniability. This must be wonderful for one of you. It took no effort at all. It wasn't hard, but you wouldn't call it easy. It was love. I love you. A lot. I'm gonna take my blanket and my journal, and I'm gonna go bathe in the sun. What time is it? It's in a couple hours, I think. Actually, might be starting within the next hour or two. It's the annual solar eclipse. It won't be seen where I am in Toronto, North America. It's traveling through over Africa and parts of Southeast Asia, parts of Africa and parts of Southeast Asia. But you know what is over here? The motherfucking sun. And it might be solar eclipsing somewhere. But so that means I'm seeing it just from the other side. Which is how I can describe our love for one another. Ew, who are you talking about? I'm talking about you. Just in the way that that's true. Me on one side of the screen, you on the other. My voice is too loud, your voice is too quiet. Sounds perfect. Have a great everything. I'm so grateful for love. Go and touch love today. Just touch it. Okay. I'll catch you later. Peace out. A-Town. Burp ramps. Burp ramps. Namaste.